I still remember Cairo as it was, a labyrinth of dusty streets and crowded houses, where the shouts of merchants mixed seamlessly with the laughter of children. My girlhood there comes back to me now in flickers and glimpses, like sunlight dancing on the Nile. Born into a humble family in the heart of the ancient city during the 13th century, my days were filled with simple joys and endless adventures. Though we had little, we found happiness in gatherings with family and friends, sharing simple meals around a mat on the floor. Come along as I revisit those carefree days of running barefoot through a city that existed centuries ago, yet lives on in my heart. Every morning began with the melodic call to prayer echoing through the city, pulling me gently from sleep. The aroma of freshly baked flatbread wafted through our small home as my mother prepared breakfast. After a quick meal, I would dash outside to meet my best friend, Layla. Together, we navigated the winding alleys that led to the Khan El Khalili Bazaar, the heart of Cairo's commerce and the playground of our youth. The bazaar was a sensory symphony. Vivid colors of spices and textiles assaulted our eyes, saffron yellows, indigo blues, and crimson reds. The air was thick with the scents of cinnamon, cumin, and the occasional hint of incense from a nearby stall. Merchants shouted out their wares with enthusiastic pitches. Finest silk from Damascus. You won't find better quality. Layla and I would giggle as we weaved through the crowds, sometimes stopping to admire intricate jewelry or sample a sweet treat when a vendor was feeling generous. One day, we stumbled upon a storyteller surrounded by an eager audience. His voice rose and fell with dramatic flair as he spun tales of ancient pharaohs and jinns. We sat captivated, our imaginations ignited, dreaming of adventures beyond our city's walls. Our home was modest, a two-room dwelling with walls adorned by my mother's woven tapestries. My father was a potter, his hands perpetually dusted with clay. He was a man of few words but abundant affection. I cherished the evenings when he would teach me how to shape clay into pots and vases. Patience is key, he would say, his eyes crinkling with a smile. The clay responds to gentle hands. My mother was the glue that held our family together. She had a way of turning the simplest meal into a feast with her warm presence and hearty laughter. Her hummus and falafel were legendary in our neighborhood, and she never hesitated to share with those in need. Generosity costs nothing but means everything, she often reminded me. Our family gatherings were frequent and full of life. Aunts, uncles, and cousins would cram into our tiny home, filling it with stories, music, and the irresistible aroma of my mother's cooking. These moments taught me the value of community and the joy found in togetherness. The Nile was more than just a river, it was the lifeblood of our city and a backdrop to many of my childhood adventures. On hot afternoons, Layla and I would sit on its banks, dipping our toes into the cool water. Do you think the Nile ever gets tired of flowing? I mused one day. Layla shrugged, skipping a pebble across the surface. Maybe it enjoys the journey as much as we do. We watched fishermen cast their nets, their silhouettes etched against the setting sun. The river taught me about constancy and change, how life flows on, regardless of obstacles. Living in Cairo during the 13th century meant being at the crossroads of history. The city was a melting pot of cultures, with traders and travelers from distant lands bringing news and exotic goods. I remember the day my father brought home a piece of blue and white porcelain. From China, he explained, his eyes shining. Imagine how far it has traveled. The world felt both vast and connected, a realization that filled me with awe. However, not all news was joyful. Whispered conversations about the Crusades and the Mongol invasions sometimes cast a shadow over our daily lives. Soldiers marched through the city, and the tension was palpable. Why do people fight? I asked my father one evening. He sighed deeply. Sometimes, people fear what they do not understand. But remember, peace begins in our own hearts. His words stayed with me, a guiding principle in times of uncertainty. The marketplace wasn't just a place of commerce, it was a stage for countless anecdotes that still make me smile. Like the time I tried to help a fruit vendor by organizing his dates and figs but ended up toppling the entire display. "You have a talent for chaos," the vendor laughed, patting my head. Instead of scolding me, he handed me a ripe fig as a peace offering. Then there was Malik, the spice merchant with a twirly mustache and a penchant for exaggeration. "These spices will make you dance like a Sufi," he'd proclaim, causing us to giggle uncontrollably. The market was a microcosm of life's lessons, negotiation, generosity, and the art of storytelling. Religion wove through our daily routines like threads in a tapestry. The call to prayer punctuated the day, a melodic reminder of our connection to something greater. Festivals were particularly special times, blending faith with celebration. During Ramadan, lanterns illuminated the streets, casting a warm glow on faces filled with anticipation. The fast-breaking meals, or iftars, were communal events. Long tables stretched down the streets, laden with dates, lentil soup, and sweet kunafa pastries. One year, I decided to fast for the first time. By midday, my stomach growled louder than a camel. "Patience, my little one," my mother chuckled. "The reward is worth the wait." When the sunset finally arrived, the first bite of a date was the sweetest thing I'd ever tasted. The experience taught me about discipline, empathy, and the joys of delayed gratification. Wisdom from elders. My grandfather was a well-respected scholar, his beard as white as the sands beyond the city. He spent his days in study but always made time for my endless questions. "Why does the moon change shape?" I asked him one night as we sat under the stars. He smiled, his eyes reflecting the celestial glow. "The moon teaches us that everything is in a state of becoming. Just like you." He introduced me to poetry and philosophy, opening my mind to the wonders of the world. "Knowledge is a lantern in the dark," he often said. "Never stop seeking the light." Our neighborhood functioned like an extended family. When Fatima, the widow next door, fell ill, everyone pitched in to help. My mother cooked extra meals, and my father repaired her leaky roof. "Today for her, tomorrow for us," he explained when I asked why we were helping. These acts of kindness were commonplace and taught me the importance of empathy and solidarity. Adventures beyond the city walls. Occasionally, my family took trips to the outskirts of Cairo. The pyramids stood majestically against the horizon, silent sentinels of time. Standing at the base of these colossal structures, I felt both tiny and significant. How did they build these? I wondered aloud. "With vision and perseverance," my father replied. "Remember, great things are achieved one step at a time." These excursions fueled my imagination and instilled a deep appreciation for history and human ingenuity. Some of my fondest memories are the simplest ones: flying kites on windy days, the fabric catching the breeze as if eager to touch the clouds. The tactile joy of kneading dough with my mother, the flour covering us both in a fine dusting of white. "Now we look like two ghosts," I'd exclaim, and we'd burst into laughter. The taste of fresh pomegranates, their ruby seeds bursting with sweetness, remains unmatched. Even now, the scent of jasmine transports me back to warm evenings on our rooftop, where we'd watch the city settle into night. Life wasn't without its challenges. Drought sometimes threatened our food supply, and diseases we now easily cure were then a cause for concern. When my younger brother fell ill with a fever, fear gripped our household. "Will he be okay?" I asked, tears welling up. "The healer is doing all she can," my mother reassured me, though worry etched lines on her face. When he recovered, the relief was palpable. The experience taught me about vulnerability and the fragility of life, deepening my gratitude for each day. One afternoon, a caravan arrived from the west, bringing with it a strange new device, a rudimentary astrolabe. "This will change navigation," the caravan leader announced proudly. Curiosity piqued, I examined the intricate markings. "Perhaps one day, you'll explore the stars," my grandfather mused. The notion seemed fantastical, yet it planted a seed of possibility. It was a reminder that the world was ever-changing, full of potential and discovery. Reflecting on my childhood in 13th century Cairo fills me with profound nostalgia. It was a time of simplicity and wonder, where each day unfolded like a new chapter in an unwritten book. The lessons I learned about family, community, resilience, and the joy found in everyday moments have stayed with me throughout my life. Our city, with its ancient walls and timeless river, taught me that while the world around us may change, the core values of kindness, generosity, and curiosity are enduring. These principles are the true treasures passed down through generations. So, dear reader, I invite you to carry a piece of my Cairo with you. May it remind you to find joy in simplicity, to cherish your loved ones, and to approach life with both wonder and humility. After all, it's the simple threads that weave the most beautiful tapestries.